The poem that I had was The Weary Blues by Langston Hughes. And my thesis was that the purpose of this poem is to let the reader feel the experience that Langston Hughes had. I think this thesis because, for one, the first thing that jumps out in the third line is the first person. So makes you think that this is an actual experience that's happened to Langston. For the first three lines, it says, "Drown or droning in drowsy, syncopated tune, rocking back and forth to a mellow croon, I heard the Negro play." So the first person narrative sort of comes to effect here, makes you think that this is an experience that's happened to um, Langston Hughes. First, I'm going to talk about the actual devices used into the poem. And the first thing that I noticed was right out the bat from those first two lines was the rhyme scheme that he uses. By rhyming tune and croon, he also uses this again with "Down on Lenox Avenue the other night by the pale dull parlor of an old gas light." So there's one thing that jumped out at me first. The other thing I see in this poem is some repetition. Like, for example, he says, "He did a lazy sway, he did a lazy sway." Multiple, so that's two times in a row. And he also says, "Oh, blues," in one line, and then so your four lines later says it again. So there's some repetition in this poem as well. And there's other devices used, like he uses similes. For example, "He slept like a rock," or "a man that's dead." But for the actual way that he was able to put the reader into the experience was the imagery that he used. For example, he uses lines like, "With his ebony hands on each ivory key," and also later in the poem, in the second stanza says, "Thump, thump, thump went his foot on the floor." So you notice he's trying to put you into what was going on, try to make you hear and see what he was hearing and seeing at the time that this poem was um, being played. Some other things I noticed about this poem was the personification he uses. For example, he says, "He made the poor piano moan with melody." So the piano moaning with melody would be the personification in that. And sort of the mood that I was getting from this was it was kind of calm and mellow, sort of, you know. And that's an important fact to know about this poem was this poem is known for being read with jazz playing in the background. And jazz is sort of a music style that's played. It's like a calm, dreary, wary, to be honest, style that kind of makes a person like kind of drowsy, sort of. It just makes them kind of sit back and relax type of music. So, yeah, it's the main thing. Also, something that I noticed about the poem was it's important to get the setting because it makes you feel like you're in the setting. It seems like in these first two lines, "Down on Lenox Avenue the other night, beyond the pale dull parlor of the old gas lights." So, kind of get a feel of the setting at Lenox Avenue by the pale dull parlor. Um, get an idea of sort of what was going on. Another thing that I noticed that made me think of a like sort of first person narrative going on was the fact that there are quotes used throughout the poem two times actually when he's quoting the singer and what the lyrics that he's saying in that poem. So sort of contributes to the first person narrative of that was what was literally being said and what he was hearing from the Weary Blues. And a lot of the poem is like describing the the music of what was going on, and he uses a lot of describer words to do that. For example, in a deep song voice with a melancholy tone, so using words to describe the tone, which is melancholy apparently, um, describes the way he was playing, sort of, and sort of just the describing the mood, and yeah, I'm done.